You hear the rooster? Good morning. Hey, so this is Mountain Creek Real Estate again, and we're back out on a morning walk. A little cloudier today, very humid out this morning, but today I want to kind of go over some real estate stuff. Let's talk about the buying process, how it is to buy a home. Different steps that we take, different parts of the process, maybe some questions, maybe we'll answer some ideas, the idea about getting pre-qualified, and how this market is for buyers right now. So we'll start the walk, we'll do some of that, and we'll go through. I'm going to try to hold it like that, yeah, so we can kind of see up. So the buying process. Whether you buy a home, you're renting a home, and you're living with your parents or something like that, I think one of the goals that we all have is to eventually buy a home and own a home. It's a great way to build equity, equity is a word that we like to throw around a lot that not everybody understands. Equity is the value of your home versus what you owe on it, or what kind of liens you have onto it, like a mortgage, home equity, line of credit, whatever else. So you have this equity built up, and it's one of the safest, greatest investments that you can have, because real estate tends to just go up, not go down or stay even. We've had dips in the economy before, and we've had dips in home prices. So it's important that you buy with the right intentions, and you know what you're doing when you're buying. And that's a lot of times why us realtors come into play there, is that we're here to help you make a good investment, at least the good ones are. Because it's great to have you as a buyer today, but 9 times out of 10, the first house you buy, you're going to sell it later on. Then you're going to buy another house. Then you're going to sell that one, buy another house. And I've had customers that we bought and sold 3 houses. I've had customers that we've done 5 or 6. So, we always want to put them in a good position, and it does me no good if I put you in a position to buy a home that is overvalued. The market can't stand it, and, later on, you're having a hard time selling it, making your money back. The best way to do it is when we can make money at the end of it, and then you use that to buy another house or parts of it. So, buying process. Where do you guys go to go look at homes? There's Realtor.com, Zillow, Homes.com is a great one. I mean, they got probably the best commercials out right now. They're funny. It's great tools to use on there. I've been a part of all of them. Currently, I'm working with Homes.com to do a bunch of stuff. But, in the future, I might use other ones. But wherever you do it, a lot of times that's where you're first going to start out, by looking on the internet. You're going to look at what's in the area, what they have. It's a great way to start. No impact. You're doing it on your own. We all do that, shopping online. No harm, no foul. You're not driving out to go look at houses. You might go by and look at some houses and stuff. But one of the first things I would urge you to do after you decide, hey, we might want to buy a home, is I would contact a realtor. And the ways you can find a realtor, best way is referrals. Talk to people that bought homes, sold homes, who they like working with. You'll see billboards, you'll see lots of advertisement. People can spend money and put their name out there. Interview these people if you want, who you're comfortable with, because this process is very stressful. And if you don't have the right person to work with, it's even harder. I mean, how bad would it be you're at that moment, this is the largest purchase you're ever making, and you can't get a hold of your realtor, or they don't know the answers to questions, or they don't know where to find the answers to questions. We got all these people running around that just do real estate like part-time. So whoever you get, you're building a relationship for the next, at the minimum 30 days, you're hanging around with this person all the time. Most likely you're with this person. I have clients I worked with for, a year and a half before we found a home. 2 years, so I know their family. I know their kids. They know my kids. A lot of times when you hang out. So this is a relationship you're building with these people to help do that. So the first step is, I would say, contact a realtor. You want to talk to them. You want to go over any questions you have. You want to say what I'm looking for. And then you're going to come up and you're going to be like, hey, what kind of price range you looking at? That's what your realtor is going to ask you. And you're going to say arbitrarily, or, I mean, you may know. Well, 9 times out of 10, you don't know. You're like, I think 500,000. Like, because I've seen homes that I like around the 500,000. Now, do you understand what 500,000 is in monthly payments? Do you understand what it is in insurance? Do you understand what it is with the interest rate now? Do you understand what it is compared to your debt to income? So, debt to income, let's go over that real quick, is how much money you have coming in is your income. They usually go on gross income, how much money coming in a month or a year, however you get paid. And how much debt do you have going out? Car payments, student loans, credit cards, all this stuff. These are debts coming out. You have to be at a certain percentage. It can range anywhere from, they want you to be at 40 to like maybe 55 sometimes in cases your total debt to income. So that means all your debts have to equal up to a certain number, and it has to be a percentage of your income. Now you have to prove all this income too. This can't be just like, hey, I mow lawns on the side and they give me cash. That stuff you go over with the lender, about all that income. So what you'll hear people say, and a lot of realtors say, is, hey, have you talked to a lender? Have you been pre-qualified? Are you buying cash? How are you going to purchase this? We don't do this. We do this for 2 reasons. I want you to have an idea what you can afford. The worst thing you can do is look at a house that's $500,000 that you fell in love with, and you can only afford $300,000. Why are we looking at that? You can only get disappointed. You may get that one later on, but we're not negotiating it down to $300,000. So there's no sense in us to look at something that's that price that's only going to serve to disappoint you in the future. So we want to talk to a lender. We want to get an idea of what we're at pre-qualified. So now we know our buying power. Now we're ready. Second reason, we want to be ready to purchase when we're ready to purchase. Sometimes there's real competitive markets. Sometimes the house is really competitive. You don't want to have to find the house. Say you like it. It's a Friday. Can't get a hold of a lender till Monday. Maybe get your pre-qualified by Tuesday. That house is off the market now. You missed out because you weren't ready. You can't put in an offer without a pre-qualification or proof of funds for if you're purchasing cash. The third reason is for us realtors is, we don't want to bring out people that cannot buy. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. People are like, well, that's kind of your job, isn't it? I mean, it is to go show houses, but my real job is to help people buy and sell houses. It's not help people look at houses. Now, I love doing that, and I do it all the time, and I look at houses all the time. But if I'm out there spending all my time showing houses to somebody who just cannot buy at all, not only am I wasting my time and their time, but it costs me money in gas, it costs me time and away from my family and stuff. So we have to be smart with our time, and we have to use it wisely. So we want to help people that are ready to buy. Now, I will talk to you on the phone forever if you can't buy, and let's go figure out how we can get you to buy. I'm good with that. It's just, these are the reasons so we can more efficiently do our job. Okay, so now we're pre-qualified. We're ready to go. We know that we can afford a house up to, lo and behold, $500,000. Payments, there's mortgage calculators out there. I'm not going to get into the lending side of exactly what payments are. We can certainly go over that at another time. But what you're looking at is $500,000. Let's just say ballpark, you got a payment of X amount of money. So now you know exactly what you can afford. So this is where it's fun. This is probably the most exciting time for the buyers is, believe me, now we're going to go look at houses. You can do this a couple different ways. A lot of times I'll already know exactly what you're looking for. We have talked on the phone, hopefully multiple times, and we figured out exactly what you want. And I'm going to go through on my tools that I have. We have an MLS. It's a multiple listing service that I'm a member of, that all realtors are a member of. These are all the homes that get listed for sale. I'm going to set you up a list alert, and you're going to get them automatically sent to you of houses that fit your criteria. You're going to get anywhere from, probably the first initial one, you might get like 50 to 100 to look through. then you're going to start getting them daily or every other day, depending on the market and how busy everything is. So once we have all that, you're going to be picking out these homes, let's get a list together of homes that we love. Okay. Now you get that list, get with your realtor, say, hey, let's go look at some of these homes. We schedule them. Usually they like to have it a day before they're going to go out, make plans with your realtor, but they're trying to map out the best way for you to go look at these homes. You don't want to go all the way across town 16 times. You want to kind of go in a line like you would go on a bus route or a delivery route. Okay, so we've looked at homes. We've seen some. We've seen some we don't like. We've seen some we like. We found one that we love. And this is the one that we can see ourselves living into. So let's go ahead. We want to put an offer. One of the first questions I get from a lot of people is, do you think this house is worth it? Okay, there's going to be a couple ways that we're going to check and balances on that. There's things called appraisal contingencies. There's comparables that we can do as a realtor. But one of the best ways that I found to help people is if we've looked enough, if you looked at 50 homes and you see one home that you like and you're like, is it worth it? You tell me. You've seen 50 that compare to it. This is the best one that you saw. Is it worth it? So for the most part, it is. It's what you find your value in it and stuff like that. Now, how it relates to the market, we want to look at sold listings as a realtor, and we want to compare 3, 5, 7, whatever, very closely similar ones, what they sold for, and we can get an actual, comparison value. That's kind of what insurance companies do when they value your home. They're doing that. That's what appraisals do. Same thing. They appraise your home at that. So, we're comfortable with the price on this home, and we're going to go ahead and proceed. So we're going to negotiate. I'm going to negotiate. We're going to try to negotiate depending on the market. Sometimes it's competitive where you get to offer, list price. Sometimes it's so competitive you get to offer over list price. I've been in those markets. Sometimes like it is now, we're in July of 2025. It's a buyer's market. The interest rates are higher. There's not as much inventory as there usually is, but there is enough inventory and there's more stuff is staying on the market a little bit longer. So most likely, depending on days on the market and the interest level in the home, we might offer, we might negotiate. We might come in, let's say the house is listed at 500. We want to come in at 475 to start with. We'll figure out a number that makes sense. It all depends on days on the market and stuff like that. So we're going to come in at a certain price. We're going to submit our offer. So that's going to be a bunch of contracts. It's offer documents. It's a purchase and sales contract, loan exhibit, whichever one you're doing, or a cash exhibit, whichever way you're funding this loan. You're going to have that. You're going to have a seller's disclosure, most likely, of the home. That's going to tell you the defects, the condition of the home, all the stuff the owner knows that they have to disclose about the home. You're going to have that. You're going to have other paperwork on there too, depending on it. Like if the age of the home, you might have a lead-based paint exhibit, if it's before 79. You're going to have, some with the earnest money, who's going to hold the earnest money. And nowadays, you're going to have something on there that shows what the seller or what the agreed upon commissions are going to be paid for both agents, the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. So we send that contract out, and, we have that contract over to the listing agent. This is the people that are selling the home for the seller, and they'll review it. They can either counter or accept or decline it altogether. I've had all three. So depending on it's a negotiation period. You come back and forth and you work out the price of the home. In that price, in that negotiation, one of the things that's most important is you're going to have a due diligence period. So this is something that you're going to say, maybe I want 14 days, 10 days, 7 days. A due diligence period is the time period that you are using to inspect the house. You can do all the inspections, whether it's septic inspection, home inspection, air condition. If you have any questions about anything, this is kind of your period that you can get out of the contract at no cost, okay? At this point, depending on the time frame you've already submitted earnest money, or you're going to submit earnest money once the offer is accepted. So let's move along. Let's say offer is accepted. Okay, we're under contract. You officially now have the earnest money's due, and the earnest money is basically your good faith money. That goes to most likely a trust account. A lot of times it's the attorney. Sometimes it's a listing agent's broker, depending on what you agree upon. And that money can be anywhere from, I've seen them as low as $500 to 10% of the sales price. It's also another thing that you can negotiate with the listing agent and the sellers. You'll have a 5-day period, most likely 3 days, sometimes 7 days, depending on the circumstance, to get that earnest money after the contracts are binding. Which binding, let's back up a little bit. Binding contracts is when the listing agent, the buyer's agent, the buyer and the seller have all signed the contracts that they agreed upon. Everything's signed and a date is given that binds it as a legal contract. Give that earnest money to the attorney. Let's just say to the attorney, they're holding that earnest money. Now you're going to do the inspection period. All during this time also, you are going to be going, look at this. Got the future basketball star out there. You met him the other day, my 9-year-old playing. So where were we? We're going to give the earnest money. Now we're under contract. We're going to do our inspections. Typically that is arranged by your agent, your buyer's agent. You let them know what kind of inspections you want to do. Home inspection, septic inspection, termite inspections, whatever. We go ahead and set all that up, and you as the buyer are responsible to pay for those. You don't have to get any of these inspections. There's going to be stuff that the bank's going to require, like the appraisal and stuff like that, and possibly termite inspection depending on the loan. But you don't have to get any of these. But it's a good idea to get them because you don't know what hidden defects are going on in that home. So we get the inspection and do it all within our, let's say, a 10-day due diligence period. All of this, and we find out, hey, here's some things wrong with the home. Depending on the severity of them, you'll know whether or not you want to proceed with the loan. A lot of times we'll take these things and we'll write up an amendment, and it'll be address concerns with the property and send it to the seller and the seller's agent. We're asking them to either fix it, to reduce the price, give us some compensation and fix it, or however we want to negotiate that. Again, another negotiation period. They can accept, decline. We make decisions based on that. So, typically we can come to some kind of agreement on that idea of the repairs and stuff. If we do, we're proceeding along. The next step in it is going to be the appraisal. That is nothing we need to do. Now, you don't need to get an appraisal if it's a cash buyer, but if you're getting a loan, the bank's going to require an appraisal. The bank's going to set it up. They're going to set it up with the listing agent, and the appraisal is going to come down there and assign a value for the bank's benefit because they're insuring their loan pretty much, making sure it's worth what they're loaning out. You typically get that, I would say, at some point midway through, you get a finance. Now, this is protected. We're going to have, remember those exhibits I was talking about, cash exhibit or different loan exhibits. Those are protected by a thing called the finance contingency and an appraisal contingency. The finance contingency protects you in the event that you get denied for a loan at a certain period of time, that you are able to come out of this contract and receive your earnest money back. So the bank has pre-qualified you, things come up in the loan process, you're unable to get the loan, it's within the time frame that we set up in the finance contingency. You can terminate the contract, you get your money back, that's it. You can address those problems later on, look to buy a home. Same thing with the appraisal contingency. It has to appraise for sales price. If it doesn't appraise for sales price, process is stopped. You guys can negotiate, hey, the seller has to drop the price, the buyer can make up the price difference in cash, or the contract gets terminated because no parties agree on that. So those are kind of the choices. These are all protections that are written inside your contract. The different GAR forms, Georgia realtor forms. If you're not working with a realtor, and you're getting your own contracts, you got to make sure you know these protections are in place. You got to be very aware of the timeline on them, because if you don't have them, you could be out sometimes $5,000, $10,000, all because of some nitpicky thing that you forgot to add in there. So those are kind of the big things in buying a home. All during this period, you're going to be working with a lender. You're going to be submitting paperwork. And let's go over that real quick. You're going to submit all your paperwork. It's going to be like financial statements, bank statements, pay stubs, tax records, driver's license, any credit card bills, all this stuff. They might ask you all kinds of things. Letter of explanation, all this stuff they're going to ask, and they're going to have on, for you to submit. You're going to be very much in the process of giving them all your information. They're going to take all that information and they're going to bring it to underwriting. Underwriting is basically like a reviewer. They're going to review everything, say, do you meet the qualifications of the loan? If you do, you get conditionally approved or, approved. 9 times out of 10, it's conditionally approved because they might need like another letter. They might need the appraisal back. They might need, something else on there that's minor. And then you go to clear to close. You're set up. They tell you how much money you need to send for closing. Boom, you're closing on the property. But all during this time, this is why it's important to have a realtor. There's a lot of stuff that I'm just going over, and I'm going over it fast. There is so many questions. There are so many different unique circumstances, and there are so many things that you don't even realize can come up. And if you're not protected, you could get sued. You could lose out on money. You could be buying a house that has problems. You don't even know, if the title issues are right. I mean, there's so many things that this is what we do. You buy a home maybe once every 5 to 10 years. I sell 5 to 10 homes a month. This is what I do. This is what I know to do. So if we're doing this much and we're in the process of this, trust our expertise. Trust us to help you. Pick the right realtor and get yourself protected. And here's the great part. Being a buyer, 9 times out of 10, this is already, you don't pay anything for our services. We're getting paid by the seller. Now there's been some situations now with commissions and stuff like that. And we'll go over all those things with the commissions, how that works out. But most of the time it's worked out where the seller's paying the listing agent's commission and the listing agent's paying the buyer's broker from their proceeds of the commission. So you don't have to worry about paying. You're getting our services for free. So this is what I highly recommend. If you are thinking about buying a home, if you have already bought a home, thinking about selling a home, if you are thinking about buying a home, whatever it is, give me a call. Let's talk. Let's discuss some options. I mean, whether you're selling or buying, I've done it all, and I'm very good at what I do. And my goal is to make it easy for you, so you get the most that you can out of it. So you're set up in the future to be able to buy and sell more homes, or have the perfect home and be in the right situation with it. So my phone number is 912-312-2147. That's my cell phone. Or 706-744-3023. That's my office line. You can also reach us at www.mountaincreekrealestategroup.com, or check us out on any Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. And you can find us, drop us a line there. Make sure you subscribe, do the like button, hit all the bells, the whistles, whatever goes on here. And we'll keep making more of these, and maybe we'll go over the selling part of it tomorrow. So I know this is a little bit longer one, but thanks for joining us, and we'll probably see you tomorrow.